Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by Milo Tree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Blogger Genius. I'm super glad you're here. Okay, first, have you tried Milo Tree Sparkles? So these are the sparkles that you can add to your Milo Tree pop-ups, and I think they are so cool, and people are really liking them. And to find them, head to your Milo Tree dashboard, and when you're editing one of your pop-ups, you'll see a little toggle button that says Add Sparkles to Pop-up. Now, if you want to see what they look like and you don't have a Milo Tree account yet, go to Milo Tree, demo your pop-up, connect your account, and turn them on. They are really cool, and we're going to be rolling out some more animation, so I am incredibly excited about that. For today's episode, I'm excited also to have Maggy Woodley back on the show. Maggy is the brains behind and the creativity behind Red Ted Art. That's her beautiful blog. And Maggy was, I've interviewed her previously in episode 18, so that was a long time ago. And Maggy has just come out with her second published book on paper crafting. And we are talking about what it's like to write a book as a blogger, what it's like to get it published, what it's like to write an ebook, what your options are. And what I love about Maggy is she's so honest and so willing to share what this whole process is like. If you are thinking of writing a book, if you are scared to write a book, if you want to just learn about this whole area, I definitely think you will love this episode. And even if you're not interested in books, I think you will really enjoy Maggy. So without further ado, here is my interview with Maggy Woodley. Maggy, welcome back to the show. Thank you for doing part 2.
Great. I'm so pleased to be here again. It was so much fun last time, so it's great to have another chat.
Yes, and I love hearing your accent. It always makes me feel so proper. So you just published or came out with your second book.
Yes,
and
very
so
exciting.
What I want to be talking about with you today is what that process was like. So if people in the audience are thinking about how do I get a book published, or is that the right path for me, but I feel like I've got a book inside of me. That's really what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
What do I do? Like, how did you go about this, and what are your recommendations for people who feel that same way?
Yeah, I mean, I think publishing is something that a lot of people kind of dream of, especially bloggers, because we write, don't we? So it sort of seems like a natural next step to then go and have something in print. And I think it's a really good ambition, and I think people should totally go for it if that's one of their dreams. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. So, you can sort of start off with things like ebook. So I know we talk about publishing and everyone thinks about print copy, but I think it's also really important for people to think about other options. It doesn't have to be your traditional path. And I think what's nice about something like ebooks is it gives you a taste of what it's like to write a book.
Okay.
And you can give it a go, and you don't have to write, like, for example, my new book is 60 projects, which is quite a lot. And
okay, well, first of all, just briefly, what's the title of it and what's it about?
Oh, okay, yes, rewind. So it's called Easy Paper Projects for Kids.
Got it.
And the idea behind the book, there's sort of 2 key themes that are really important to me that I hope people get. One is that it's literally, it's paper, right? You have paper, maybe some card, stationery, and you can make everything in the book. So sometimes, especially with my first book, my first book had lots of different crafts, some toilet paper rolls, some stones, some sewing, which is also really valuable, obviously. But this book is designed for those kids who don't have many craft supplies at home, because, we live in small houses, or people have a few resources, or some parents just don't like the mess. And, I totally get that, and that's totally fine. So this book is designed to be super simple in terms of the materials needed. And then the second one is that, and so far the feedback's been super, is that the kids can take the book, they look at it and they go, oh my gosh, I want to make everything. And they take the book and they run off, and the parents don't ever see it again, which I love. Yes. Yeah, and it also means that the kids can actually work at this on their own. I mean, when I say kids, I'm thinking like 8 years plus.
Yep.
If the children are younger, they can still do all the projects, but obviously with parent help. And the book has like all sorts. It has some super easy stuff. I mean, you almost like think, oh my gosh, I didn't even think that was a craft, to stuff where you kind of have to like really think a little bit and concentrate and work your process, through the process. So I'm hoping that it helps kids to actually learn stuff as well. So they've got the super easy stuff to build confidence, and then they have the more challenging stuff that they go, I want to try something a little bit harder now. So hopefully it's like really doable, really easy, really fun. It's like my blog, lots of colors. It's very bright. It's very rainbowy. That sort of stuff. So hopefully people will get as excited about it.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's first. So talk to me then. Did you start with ebooks?
So as many bloggers, I have always wanted to get published. So yes, I did have some ebooks many moons ago. I think my very first one isn't actually, if I look at it now, I'm like, oh, it's a bit awkward, but only because my photography wasn't as good. I mean, the craft is still really nice. I did 10 toilet paper roll crafts, or maybe it was 12, I can't remember. So yes, I did have some ebooks. Then I did a couple of collaborative ebooks. So that was also quite interesting, because then you see different people's styles and different people's layouts. So and I think the great thing about ebooks is that it is something you can do yourself. You can do it in things like Illustrator, you can do it in PicMonkey, you can do it on PowerPoint, you can do it in Word, and you just turn it into PDF and then you can sell it. So the great thing about ebooks is, one, it gives you a feel for what it takes to do a book, and secondly, you actually can earn really well with ebooks, because when you sell it, you earn all that money.
Right. And it's a download. So it's not even like it's boom. You're just.
Exactly.
So it's like a great passive income stream.
Yes, absolutely. And you can put it on different places. You can put it on your blog with something like one of those shopping carts. It escapes me right now which ones you can use, but there's a whole range out there. But you can also put it on things like Teachers Pay Teachers. You can put it on things like Gumroad, Send It Owl. So there's loads of places, and especially something like Teachers Pay Teachers, they've got their own like internal search engine. So they kind of sell it for you as well. So it doesn't get disappeared on your potentially smaller blog. So ebooks, I think, are a really good way to start off.
Wait, would you put it on Etsy?
Yeah, Etsy, anywhere like that. Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Okay.
No question. And then very similar to ebooks is the self-publishing route. So I do know of bloggers who've written books and then put it on Kindle on Amazon.
Can you explain what that is?
So Kindle is basically your electronic version of a book that people read on Kindles, but not on iPads. So it's a different. It is technically a published book, and Amazon will also print it for you. But usually is quite expensive to have it printed, because it's basically you're printing one out at a time.
Right.
It's still an electronic copy as that. I mean, you can get print offs as well. Obviously, people can choose to spend more on it if they want, but it's more that people are going to read it as an electronic book. Now, the good thing about that is, again, you earn most of that money yourself. I mean, a bigger chunk goes to Amazon than if you had a normal ebook. And also, I know of one blogger, if not two. I'm thinking of one specifically. She nailed it. She writes romance novels. So she wrote one. She put it on Kindle. She played the Amazon Kindle game. So I don't know how she did it or how she worked it out, but she basically sometimes put it on offer, and it was available for like 10 pence to download. Then she put it back up to £1.50. Then she put it back down to 10p, and she basically sold 100,000 copies.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
wow.
That got the attention of a publisher, who then signed her up, and she wrote 3 more books through the publisher.
Wow.
Right. So it can be a route into traditional publishing without an agent, without contacting the publishers yourself. So you can, if you can attract or get them to notice you, it can actually end up in your traditional print copy, because they see your work, they can read it, they can see it's successful and that people like it. So I think that's quite an interesting way of doing it as well. And I know a few people who've done the self-publishing route, which is very similar work to ebooks, but the only difference is that when you're uploading to Kindle, you need to understand kind of their page layouts and technology. So it does take some effort, but then writing a book takes effort.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to get into that. Okay, exactly. So let's say that I were to start with an ebook. Do you think then it wouldn't be that difficult to format it for Kindle, and then it will show up on Amazon, right? in search.
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to take advantage of those sites where people can be searching for what you're writing.
Exactly. So that's other people. Yes. In other words, you don't have to do. I mean, you should still need to do a lot of marketing, but obviously it helps to have it on platforms like that. And then the next way to publish is obviously your publisher, so your traditional publisher. And again, even there's 2 or 3 different ways of doing it. So the most common way that a lot of people do, especially here in the UK, I think in the US it's mixed, is to find an agent. And the way you find an agent is my route was to ask other bloggers who'd published who their agents were, and I talk to those agents and see if they want to take me on. But you can also find registries of these agents, and you can write to them. Another friend I know, she found her agent at a blogging conference where one of the sessions was talking to literary agents. So again, if you're going to conferences, just look up and see if they've got one of those sessions going on. Or you can go directly to the publisher yourself. So my first book was through an agent that I got via another blogger. My second book is directly with the publisher called Page Street Publishing. They actually specialize in publishing bloggers. They love working with bloggers. So anyone here interested in publishing, email them and send them, say Maggie sent you. Okay. They'll either be really happy or really annoyed with me. I don't know. But I'm assuming happy.
Sorry, this publisher who likes publishing bloggers, is it predominantly craft bloggers, food bloggers, parenting bloggers? Like, it doesn't matter? Or they typically focus, in desserts or something like that?
To be honest, I had a look at their books recently, and it's everything. It's all sorts. So there are a lot of food bloggers, and there's a lot of craft bloggers. Also not just kids crafts, but sewing and quilting and knitting and whatever. But there's also some mindfulness ones. There's definitely loads of food ones. And they also have, I saw a range of novels coming out. So I don't know if that's something that they're doing new, because I hadn't seen the novels before. But I'm like, oh, can I get on your mailing list for those novels? Because I love reading. So there's quite a broad range that they do. So it's definitely worth checking them out and seeing what other titles they have. And what I liked about them is I contacted them. They liked me because of my social media.
Yep.
But you don't
we'll
have
talk about that. Okay.
I mean, that wasn't a prerequisite. So I just want to say that so that nobody's like, oh, but I'm a bit smaller, they might not like me, because they do like smaller people as well, if that makes sense.
Yes. So no, wait. Do you think in your experience that if there is a blogger who has been published, he or she would be willing to share their information about their publisher, or is that kind of something people hold close to their vests?
Personally, I think people are quite open about it.
Okay. So if you're a blogger, you could feel comfortable approaching another blogger who's had a book done.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's something that's, maybe they don't want to talk about the numbers or the finances, but I don't think they have a problem talking about their agent or their publishing company at all. I haven't had that experience. So I think people are quite happy to talk about that. So if you know another blogger who has published, I'm sure it's fine to talk to them and ask them. There's also a third way of getting published with a publishing house. Some of the publishing houses kind of hire you to write for them, if that makes sense. So the traditional publishing is you get a commission for each sale, but then there's other publishers which will give you a flat fee up front. Your name will still be on the cover. Sometimes it isn't, but usually it is. So it's still your book, but you just get a flat fee, and then that's it.
So you're kind of like a gun for hire.
Yeah, exactly. So I know a couple of bloggers who've done that, and I think they've been quite happy with that. But I think generally most bloggers still prefer to get the percentage, or at least some sort of commission, because they kind of, you then have more of an invested interest in that book doing really, really well.
Right.
And I think you'll earn a little bit more, not necessarily lots more, but you tend to earn a bit more with a commission-based approach, if that makes sense, or royalties.
Now, is writing books a way to make a good income? Because I've heard a variety of things. Like should people go into writing books as a way to supplement their income in a good way, or is it predominantly for other purposes, like getting your name out there and credibility and working with brands and things like that?
Yeah. So I think the credibility is really important. So that's actually my main driver. And also, it's also a little bit to do with giving back to my readers, because I get a lot of people saying, oh, where can I get your book? And I'm like, oh, that one's out of print. I think I need a new one. But in terms of earning an income, so I would say the money isn't terrible. Actually, no, let's say that again. The income has to do with a little bit with the size of your blog and how much you're earning already off your blog. So my site, I'm lucky enough, is relatively big. So
Very big.
I think
Yes.
I have a good income from it. So for me, the income from the book is relatively small percentage wise. So it's not as important to me. However, it's still income. It's still money. It's still worth it. And thinking about a couple of other bloggers I know, so for example, Sarah Dees from Frugal Fun with Boys and Girls now, because she's got a little girl as well. She's done 4 Lego books with the same publisher as myself, so might even be on her 5th one. And the first one sold out in 2 weeks. I mean, it just went through the roof. And then they republished it, I think, twice even, right? So she would have made a lot of money on that first book, because she basically, you could work out the royalties on that. So if you sell the whole print run of one book, that's a nice amount of royalties, but actually she'll have earned 3 times that amount without any extra work, because it was selling so well. So I wouldn't say, most people I speak to say you don't do it for the money. I don't feel you do it for the money. However, if for whatever reason it does really well, actually the money is worth it, I think. And I do know a couple of bloggers who've done 2 or 3 books relatively quickly, close together, and I'm pretty certain that's motivated by income, because their blogs are slightly smaller and they're not making as much from the blog. So it's still a really good salary, I think.
Got it.
But it's a lot.
But
it's a lot of work.
I was just going to say, but
Yeah.
I'm a blogger, let's say, and I am, working hard on that. I'm working hard on social media. How hard is it to write a book?
Well, I personally, there's no question that there is an element of stress involved. Because most publishers want between 50 and then 100 activities or crafts or recipes or whatever it is. And, it takes some pushing to get to the 60 figure. But then a lot of my publishers' books are around the 60 mark, so that's fine. And 60, at first you think, oh, it's okay, I can write down quite a few quite quickly. I can do that. But then actually when you get to about 35, that's when you kind of hit sort of, you do have moments of burnout if you want. So the thing about writing a book, I think, is you have to be really passionate about the topic itself. Because I had my moments where I was like, oh gosh, what to make now? So what to, and then you get through it, and then you have a second wind, and then you have loads of ideas again, and but there's always going to be a few bits in the middle where you're a bit stuck, and you're like, oh, what next? And if you don't like what you're writing about,
right,
those
you'll
are really
start to hate it.
moments.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
Now, can you repurpose crafts you've done on your blog, or does the publisher say no way? It all has to be new content.
It totally depends on the publisher, and it also totally depends on the publisher and how much they want to sign you specifically up. So in my book, there is a good percentage, it's about 20-25% is old content reused.
Okay.
But that's unusual. Normally they go for about 5%, if you're lucky 10. So I think I was just lucky again, because they're like, oh, she's got quite a good YouTube channel, and so they're really hoping I'm going to sell this for them. So I'm a bit a bit nervous.
Right. Right.
My readers, I'm always about being inexpensive. So my readers are not used to spending money when they craft my crafts. So
Right.
there might be, so on the one hand, they're very loyal, and
Right.
they might well buy the book. On the other hand, they're like, oh no, but we like things that are free.
Right. How
So
much
we'll
is your
see.
book? How much is your book selling? Will it sell for?
So I think the book price itself is $19.99, but because it's on Amazon and stuff, it usually comes down to about $14 or $15. So the sort of the standard craft book price, pretty average. And if you're in the UK and you're listening, I have 500 books downstairs in my living room, and I'm happy to post them. Because in the UK you can only get it on Amazon. In America you can get it in Barnes and Nobles. You can get it. There's lots of independent bookshops that will have it. So just keep an eye out for it. Yeah. So all sorts. But yeah. So back to the how many projects you can put into it. So therefore it is a lot of work. So you have to think about how does it fit into your regular work, and for some people, when they write a book, it means they stop blogging for the same amount of time. So if you're going to take 3 months to write it, you need to think about, can you fit it into your regular work, or can you afford not to spend that time on your blog? And I think that's really important consideration to make, because it is stressful and you don't want to burn out, and you want to enjoy the book when it's done. You don't want to hate it,
right,
because you've put so much energy into it. So for me, the deadlines, or what we worked out, I mean, I could have pushed the deadlines back, but I wanted my book to publish now in September, because I wanted it ready for Christmas sales.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for that to happen, I had to basically write it in September, October, November, which actually for most bloggers is the busiest blogging season. So timing, you could argue, was really bad, because
So wait, so you wrote this last year in September,
yes,
October,
so
November.
I wrote it a year ago. Yeah.
Okay, so and is that normal that like the lead time is close to a year?
Yes, easily. I can even be 18 months. In fact, I think my first book was 18 months. So this one was a shorter lead time in that sense. And that's quite common. So again, I guess you have to factor that in as well, that it is a long process, and your part is almost quite a small process. The longer part is when they then bring it all together, and then they edit it and proofread it, and then they have to send it off for printing, and they get proofs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, easily a year, if not a little bit longer. So you have to think about how you can fit that in. And I actually did the maths. I had to work out, if I really want this done by the end of November, it ended up being 6 crafts a week I had to make. So I looked at my working week and went, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is blog. Thursday, Fridays is book only and nothing else. Like I wouldn't even go on Facebook. Well, I did go on Facebook, but I wouldn't go on Facebook to do any scheduling or any red ted arting, more just to, connect, the normal stuff that you do when you're talking to other bloggers on a daily basis. But, and I had to be really disciplined about that. And it was tough, because it meant I had 3 days for my blog that I normally have 5 days in, and 2 days for the book, where I had to force myself and go, today you're making 4 things. You will not get up until you've done 4 things. And that means that sometimes, there's a couple of crafts in the book which, aren't my favorite, but the majority of them obviously I do love. But there's 1 or 2 where you're like, oh, and then I talk to a friend about it and I've shown it to them and I'm going, what do you think of this one? And she's like, no, but it's really nice. So, you can be quite tough on yourself as well, which you also have to get over. You have to go, no, you see it from a fresh pair of eyes. And so I sent a lot of my work in progress to a couple of friends, not bloggers, but friends who aren't that crafty actually. And they were like, no, I love that. Or like, oh, no, that's okay. So that was really good to have somebody that I could bounce ideas and sort of sense check. Is this nice? Is this good?
Right. Right.
And that was really helpful.
Now, were you getting, like, when you sign with a publisher, do you guys set, I will deliver this on this day?
Yes.
And
yes.
how, like, what if you blow the deadline? What happens? Do they get pissed at you?
Well, I would say, to be honest, I'm a very deadline-driven person. Very. I mean, that's just who I am, and that genuinely would never happen to me, because I always try and deliver 2 weeks early, because that's who I am, and it stresses me out too much otherwise. I think if that happened to you, the most important thing is to just basically keep communicating with the publisher and just let them understand where you're at or what your problems are. And I would have thought most publishers, including mine, are very understanding and flexible, but it's all about communication and being open. And I guess worst case is you just don't earn anything, because you get your first payments. Again, it depends on each publisher, but in my case, I think I was paid, they paid 3 installments.
Okay.
And I think the first installments was when I handed the manuscript in. The second payment I got was when we finished all the review copies, so all the reviews and the proofs. And then the third installment I don't actually get until the book publishes, which is on the 10th of September. So they've got safeguards in there to protect themselves as well.
Hey, are you a blogger or entrepreneur who loves their business but is a little overwhelmed with all that you have to do in a day? Well, you are not alone. We all feel this way. So I want to share a pop-up tool that will increase your social media followers, grow your email list, build your traffic, and it is called MiloTree. MiloTree is a pop-up app that my husband David built for our first site, Catch My Party. In the 4 years that we've been using the MiloTree pop-up on Catch My Party, our Pinterest account has grown exponentially to over 1.1 million followers. And our Instagram has grown to over 160,000 followers. And these social networks now drive millions of page views to our site every single month. MiloTree works to grow followers on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It'll grow your sales on Shopify or Etsy, and it will even grow your email list. You can focus on growing one platform at a time or switch between several. The choice is yours. MiloTree. It's easy to install. You can do it in under 3 minutes. It's completely optimized. Right now, you can get your first 30 days for free. Just go to milotree.com to sign up for your free trial. If you are not converting your site visitors into followers, subscribers, and customers, you need to change your strategy. To take the first step, head over to milotree.com and start your free trial. There's no risk, and you'll be joining thousands of other professional bloggers who are already using MiloTree to grow their businesses. As a bonus, once you sign up, I'll send you valuable business tips each week to help you continue to accelerate your growth. You can't be everywhere all the time, so let MiloTree work for you. It's fast, it's easy, and it gets results. So what are you waiting for? Head to milotree.com and start your free trial. One thing you were talking about is how much the publisher cares that you have a built-in audience, a very large social media presence. So for those who don't know, Maggie, you are huge in social media, on YouTube, on Facebook, that kind of thing. So I'm sure a publisher looks at that and goes, "Oh, Maggie can do a lot of the selling herself, you know, and therefore we can partner in this." But the publisher's thinking they don't have to push the rock all the way up the hill themselves.
Yeah. I think in this case, they definitely looked at my socials and went, "Yeah, we want her. Don't care what the topic is. We'll work that out together."
Oh, how interesting. Okay.
But that was because I have the big Facebook page and the big YouTube channel, and they really were after that, which is ironic, really, because these days algorithms are so crippling. I don't even know if there is a value to those sites. But they knew that there is an audience and there's support and there's people who like what I do. But there's other publishers who, so I've been approached since for a couple of books, which I'm not doing for various reasons, but it's not an important why, where they've got kind of their publishing schedule, and they want, say, let's 3 kids craft books in April, and they want 2 cookbooks in September or whatever. They then find bloggers to fit in what they are working on. So because I'm quite nervous about people feeling discouraged, because I do have a 2 million page Facebook page, and they don't, so I don't want them thinking, "Oh, I have to be that big in order to get published." You don't. And so, for example, my publisher, Page Street, even though I know they're mainly interested in me because of my socials, I've also sent them some other friends who they've signed on. And one of them, has a very, I don't even know how many people she's got followers on Facebook, but it'll be like 10,000 or something. So, very modest, but she's very committed to what she does. She's very specialized in what she does. She knows her audience really well. And that's what they are interested in, I think, and that you have an idea that's different. So I think that's the key, is that actually a lot of publishers, even though they want you to sell for them, they've still got their distribution channels, and what they're looking for actually is something that's different about you or unique about what you're offering.
And what do you mean by that? Tell me different things that, like, when you think about people, friends of yours who have written books, what would you say their special sauces are?
So I think so the friend I'm thinking of just now, she's doing a phonics book. So if you're listening, sorry, I didn't ask before if I was allowed to mention you. So phonics being about reading and how you learn to read, and activities to go with how to learn to read. And so I think that, for example, there aren't that many books out there at the moment about that. So that's quite unique or quite niche. Then I guess they also had, I'm just thinking about the publishers, the current publisher, and what topics they've been publishing. I've seen a lot in their books around one pot meals, for example. So that's quite a trendy topic. So they're very good at picking up on trends. So one pot meals is trendy. So let's bring out a series of one pot meals, as quickly as possible so that we can jump on that trend. I've seen them, again, it'll be niche. I've seen them do a lot of niche cookbooks around, the one, not just one pot, but one pot Indian meals, or or one pot keto, or one pot, family, or so there's themes there. So I think it's just about, that, for example, there's lots of origami books out there. If I'd said to them I want to do origami, they probably would have said, yeah, but there's probably like 10,000 origami books out there, and there are paper crafts books out there as well, to be fair, but some of them will still use lots of different materials. And, for example, I avoided any of the crafts that parents usually are scared of because they take ages, like paper mache, even though I love paper mache, but I knew that if I put that in there, nobody would bother making it.
Yeah, it's too messy. As a mother, exactly. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to clean that up.
Yeah, exactly. So messy is actually a good one, because I've just seen in the UK a friend publish a book which is basically the craft book for parents who hate crafts, right? Or for parents who hate mess. So it's, and it's true, because actually parents do still like crafts. They just don't like the faff that goes with it. So I think that applies to cooking, that applies to gardening. It's all about making things accessible, easier, accessible, doable. How can you guarantee that your reader is successful?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that's what they're looking for, that you're kind of, and I'm pretty certain they're looking just for that passion about your reader, and that you want to create something that is really good for them. And not you're just writing a book because that's been your ambition your whole life, but you're writing a book because you really have something that you desperately want to share, and that if people read your book, they will really enjoy.
I like that. I just want to pause on that. I think that, there's certain themes that, doing this show week after week, there are certain themes that continue to emerge. And one of them is exactly that, which is in anything, it's not about you. I mean, it is about you because it's your point of view, but it's really the experience you can give to the reader or to the person who buys your product or whatever, that it's really about serving them, making their life better, making them happier, making their relationships with their kids stronger. And you're kind of there almost as this invisible hand, making their life, their life richer.
And I'd be mortified if somebody bought any of my books and then felt that they couldn't make anything in it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because it was too difficult for them, or they tried it and it turned out, really not how they expected. Obviously, I don't expect people to make the crafts exactly the way mine are, because my book is all about make it your own, create your own. How can you put your own spin on it? So, and how can you make it special because you're you? So, so it's not about make it the way I've made it. This is just showing you how to make it, and then you can make it special for yourself. But the worst feedback would be if they said it's too difficult,
right?
Or
right.
I tried it and it didn't work, or I'd be like, oh, that would make me really sad, because like you say, it's about, I want them to have a really good experience, and I want them to really enjoy the process, and I want them to then go away and make more, not stuff that isn't in my book necessarily.
Right. And the thing too that I think is at the core of this, especially when you're providing something for families, at the core, it's love, it's connection, it's creativity, it's about feeling, I don't know, like it's not even about, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's almost like not about the craft as much as what the craft brings.
Yeah, totally. And confidence and joy,
and beauty, and sharing, and togetherness.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff in my book specifically is driven by comments I had on my YouTube channel from children. So my YouTube channel has been invaluable for me in terms of getting an insight into kids these days, so to speak, and kids going, oh, this one's really hard, and get really frustrated, or so I have a few videos that are too difficult, but that taught me something about what kids can and can't do. And then other videos where they're going, oh my god, I've been looking for this everywhere, and yours is the only video I understand, or you always make it really easy. Or sometimes they come to me and say, I really want to make this, can you make it? Because if you do, I know I can make it. And I'm like, sometimes I have to say I can't, because that's a really hard craft. And even if I made it, it would still be hard. Or I say, oh, let me have a look. Maybe I can come up with something. So I've learned so much from these kids on YouTube who've been leaving me comments, or about comments about, oh, I don't have any of that, or I don't have that, or I don't have that, or I don't have that. The one thing they all have is paper, right?
Yes.
And that,
yes.
right. And that made me go, okay, this would be really special to have something. And not just, and then, I didn't want to make it an origami book, because some people go, oh, I hate origami, even though if they gave it a go, they'd see that they wouldn't hate it. So there is some origami in my book, but not tons. And that, because obviously it's still a really great craft,
Right.
but I didn't want to put anyone off. I didn't want them going, oh, I can't do origami, it's too hard. Actually, you can. But the point is, that's the point about the book, is that it's a bit of snipping and a bit of cutting and a bit of sticking and a bit of designing and a bit of this and a bit of that. And I've learned so much from my YouTube kids, and I'm really grateful to them. And I really hope that's a lot of them are able to get a copy, because I really think that they'd love it and they'd get the confidence.
Right.
And then there's so much stuff out there today where, especially on YouTube, which is fake news, fake crafts, fake recipes.
Oh,
fake,
absolutely.
right?
Oh
And
my
it's
God.
so sad, right?
Yes.
It's so sad.
Yes.
There's no need for fake crafts.
Yes,
There
I
is no
say
need
my
for it.
daughter will show me something
Yeah.
on Instagram, a craft, and I will say, I promise you, if you made that, it would not turn out like that. Don't
No.
think it's as easy as this 30-second video.
Exactly. And I have heard stories from blogger friends, actually, where the dad and the daughter have got together to make this really cute, like not vanity unit, but like stationery unit, and looked amazing. And that they thought, if the dad helps them, maybe it'll work. You know what? It didn't work.
Right.
And it was frustrating, and they all got really upset. And
Right.
it was, these are crafty bloggers with crafty dads with crafty kids. And if they can't make it, and they
Exactly.
spend all this time and money on it, and then it doesn't turn out right, and I just think that's really sad. And so I just don't understand why these YouTube channels exist, because I think they're doing a real disservice to our readers, because you're making them feel like failures when they're not.
Yes. I have one last question about working with a publisher.
Yes.
How much autonomy do you have, and how much of it is pleasing the publisher? For example, do you get to name your book, or does your publisher name your book? Do you get to pick the 60 crafts, or does your publisher go, well, we only like these 40, we want you to make 20 more? How does that, because I'm thinking about an ebook, and guess what? You're God in your ebook. You want to put that craft in, boom, it's in.
Exactly. Yep.
So there's something empowering about when you get to do it yourself, versus now you've got this publisher that you're trying to please. Like, how can you kind of walk through what that relationship is like?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question, because I know that I behave very differently with my second publisher compared to my first publisher. So with my first publisher, I was very much, oh my gosh, you're God, I'm so relieved I'm allowed to write a book. I will do everything you say. And the publisher was really nice. They were really lovely, and I would have happily published with them again, but various reasons we didn't. And really, really, really nice people. And they did pick all the 60 to go into my first book. But what I didn't appreciate in my first book, was that I could have just said, actually, no, I don't like that one. At the time, I just went, yes, okay, yes. And I was like, and there's a couple of things in there which I wish I hadn't put in. But again, that's just, if there's 60 crafts, if there's 2 in there that aren't brilliant, that, so be it. So, and I liked in a way that they helped me pick the 60, because I liked the fresh pair of eyes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, now in retrospect, I like the input that they give, but I would now push back and go, actually, can we drop that one? And to be honest, I did do that a little bit with the first book, and they were like, yeah, that's fine. So I think there's they're actually quite happy for you to choose. So with the second publisher, for example, I had to send sample projects, and so they did check it and had a look, but ultimately I could make what I want. So that was really nice. And in terms of the title, to be honest, they came up with it. I liked it, and I went, yeah, okay. And they also came up with the cover. And again, I think if I hadn't liked it, they would have changed it. Again, with the first book, they made a cover that I really didn't like. And then on the photo shoot, we basically took some extra photos and we came up with the new cover, and I loved the new cover. So I think it's so the reason I love your question is because, especially if you're a first-time author, it's fine to push back if there's something you don't like. Obviously, you do it politely and kindly, and you come up with suggestions, and you don't make it a problem, but you offer solutions. So it's obviously how you do it. But most publishers are happy for that input because you know your content, you know your readers, you understand them, and as long as you're not being completely unreasonable, I think they like it. I don't think they dislike it. I think you do. It is okay. I think pushback sounds aggressive, but to
think of
say,
it as a collaboration.
Yes, I think
you're
so,
not working
definitely.
for them.
No, and they also want the book to succeed, right? So they're sort of hiring you because they know that you know your stuff. So
Right.
that's fine. So that's why you go for it.
Right, you're the authority.
Exactly. So, and that's fine. And again, it all varies on the publisher. And I've got experience of two now, and they're all, I'm sure others are different again. But with my one, the one who likes to work with bloggers, one of the reasons they like to work with bloggers is because they know that the bloggers can take the photographs themselves. So, we did have some debates around that because they wanted very lifestyle photos, but I don't do lifestyle photos. So there was a bit of toing and froing. And then in the end, we went with my style of photo because I said, that's my skill.
And those are what your readers respond to.
Well, I mean, I think lifestyle photos would have been really nice, but we would have had to get someone in, and I was open for that, and I think they were open for that as well. But it was about looking at all the options and deciding which option was the best in this instance. So, for example, Emma Vanston from Science Sparks, she's got 2 books with my publisher. She had a photographer come in, and she did some great lifestyle shot. And then Tiffany Dale, Peanut Blossom, who's also got 2 books with them, she did all her own photos. And all our books are actually quite different, and yet because it's the same publisher, there's still a coherence to them, which I think is something quite amazing that they've managed to do. That there's that consistency within the book, the different books by different authors, and yet we've all had a different approach to them, and they still really work really well.
Okay, here is, before we wrap up, here is my final question. Doing this now twice.
Yeah.
Do you have another book in you?
Yes, but not now.
Okay, and how long do you think you will wait to start your third book?
So it took me 6 years to recover from my first book. Gosh, and yet my first book was so much easier to do than this one for some reason.
Okay.
But I think if I were to do another one, I would probably want a 2-year gap. And the reason being that I would also want to give my readers that break. So I don't know how easy it is to sell to the same audience twice, right? I'm sure if they're mega fans, they'd buy all your books. And I do know people who have bought both my books already. But there was a 6-year gap. So it was quite easy. So I think if I wrote a second one, because I have thought about it already, if I want to do another one or not, I definitely would need at least another year or 2 off. I know other people have written 2 within like a year, and I'm like, wow, you're amazing. In fact, Sarah Dees, I think she wrote all her 5 within like 18 months or something. It feels that way. It feels like she's written them literally one after the other, but I don't know if that's quite right. Just maybe it looks like that. But I would need a break personally, and I would also, I'm wondering what the topic of that second book would be. So I don't think 60 more paper crafts would do it, although for some people it would. But I'd like something similar where I don't know, maybe teaching something else like sewing, or maybe teaching something. It's all, I like, what I like about my book is that I try to introduce lots of techniques. And I try to introduce that if you have this technique, you can then apply it to other seasons or other, like birthdays, or instead of Christmas or whatever. So I'd like to think of a topic where I feel like I'm giving someone a toolkit and craft ideas.
Oh, that's that's terrific. That makes perfect sense.
So I'd have to think about what that new toolkit would be, and if I feel confident enough to write 60 crafts around it. So I could imagine sewing being a good one. Especially because sewing is sort of a lost skill, and you do often as a child need a parent there to help you thread the needle and knot it off and stuff. But if it could be done in a way that you can teach all that from a book, that'd be quite cool. But I don't know. But yes, a couple of years at least, I'm sure.
Oh wow. Okay, so Maggie, how can people find you, reach out to you if they have questions, that kind of thing? What is the best way?
So if they've got specific questions about publishing, like we're having a chat here today, do you mind if I'm happy to answer an email, or if they on Instagram, people sometimes leave me questions. So I guess just your normal social media channels. On YouTube, I get a lot of questions that I always try and answer.
What's your handle and everything so everybody can find you?
So all my social media is literally at Red Ted, like the teddy, and art, and it's all Red Ted Art, so it doesn't vary in any way. Just plonk that at the end of facebook.com and twitter.com and instagram.com. It's all /Red Ted Art.
Okay, and the name of your book again
is Easy Paper Project,
and people can find it in stores starting or on Amazon.
September.
Sorry,
so 10th of September.
10th of September.
Yeah.
Well, Maggy, thank you so much for being back on the show. And I will link to your first episode, which we did about a year ago, where you talk about how you grew your blog.
Yeah, it was amazing. I loved doing that with you. So that was a really fun podcast. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm really enjoying your whole series.
Oh, terrific. Well, hopefully you'll be back in before 2 years when your next book is out, and we can have another chat.
Brilliant. Thank you for having me.
Isn't Maggy delightful? I was so happy to talk to her again on the show. Now, if you're enjoying the Blogger Genius podcast, there are a couple ways to support us. One is to head to iTunes and to rate us and leave a review. And the other is to share the podcast with a friend. Tell somebody, tell a blogger friend or an online entrepreneur friend. I would be so appreciative. And I will see you here again next week.